Neil from Messick's here to talk to you a little bit today about a BX Series tractor and a feature that's on it that is often looked down upon, specifically its quarter-inching valve.
Messick's, a helping hand with your land.
So I'm going to ask you to pay attention to something today. I don't usually ask for comments in these videos, but there's something here that I think is interesting to see what your perspectives on this might be. When you talk to the engineers who go through and build tractors, they're always trying to balance cost versus utility and features, right? There's a price point that these things need to make sense at, and building features in certain ways can cost a little bit more money. And the BX Series tractor, the quarter-inching valve here is kind of the result of one of those conversations. Now, what the quarter-inching valve is the control that moves your three-point hitch up and down. Virtually every other tractor from every other manufacturer since the dawn of tractors has been done with what's called a position control. Now, the difference between these two is that the position control, when you look at this lever, is a 1 through 8. It allows you to move that lever through a range, and your tractor's three-point hitch is going to respond within that range. If you move it to number 2, it's always going to return to, say, height position number 2. These aren't exact positions, they're relative to every tractor and how you've got your other three-point hitch geometry set up, but that position control is repeatable. Now, the BX Series machine here is going to come through with what's called a quarter-inching valve, and instead of having that repeatability that you get from position control, the quarter-inching valve, this lever right here, is simply up or down. So when I want to raise my three-point hitch up or down, I'm going to move this lever and watch as things move. Now, it's going to be less expensive to build something this way, and there's dollar values associated with these features. But let me go through here and show you a little bit about what that actually means in operation. Now, in Kubota's implementation of this three-point hitch height control, if I'm taking the lever here on the right-hand side and pushing it forward, you see my implement drops. When I want to raise it back up again, I pull it back and my implement comes back. Now, where the position control is going to be a little bit better than this would be in something like this grading box. If I knew I was trying to, say, spread the dirt out in this area at a low repeatable position, I could set a stop here on this lever. When I drop my box down, it's always going to drop back into that same spot again. When I get to the end of my turn, I need to lift this up so that I can make my turn, come back around, drop it right back down into position number, say, 2 again, and go right back to work. Now, when I'm working with this quarter-inching valve, it's not quite the same, right? As I come back into that next pass, I've got to watch as this thing drops down again and stop it back in that same position, as opposed to having that easy repeatability. Now, when I've seen people struggle with this at times, sometimes I think it's because of a lack of understanding of other tractor features. Down between your legs on the floor, there's a dial that you turn that changes how quickly your implement drops to the ground. You can see here when I push my quarter-inching valve the whole way forward, my box comes down in a really slow and predictable manner. But if I reach down here to this lever and I open the thing up the whole way, this is a restriction valve that changes how quickly this implement drops. When I push this forward, it drops to the ground, right? And getting this back into the spot that you want becomes really difficult because things just move too fast, right? And you could sit here and say that a position control is better because it drops you back into that more repeatable spot, and the box only drops as fast as what you move the lever down. But with my quarter-inching valve here, it drops really quickly. But as I reach forward here and dial this back down again, restrict the flow of the oil that's happening here when this box goes down, the further I turn this dial, the slower the box drops down to the ground again. So for me, being able to set this up correctly really negates a lot of the problems that you can have with this control when dropping implements down to the ground. So with these differences in mind, this is where I think this conversation gets interesting, right? To me, this is not a big deal. Most of the time that you're using implements, they're either going up or down, and repeatability, frankly, is of limited use. At least that's my perspective. When you go through and you look at the pricing of Kubota's tractors, the gap from a BX 2380 that I'm driving here to a B2301 up in the B series, a physically bigger tractor, more machine, has the position control three-point hitch, today is about $2,500. Now, if you go and you include other models in here and say the gap from a BX 2680 to that B2301, top end of the BX to the small end of the B series, you're gonna get that gap down to more like $1,500. Okay, now let's talk about position control. And I asked you before, keep in mind, what is this worth in dollars? Okay, if we go and we say there's a $400 or $500 difference, I have no idea here, I'm just spitballing numbers. Now all of a sudden the price gap between the BX series and the much larger, more capable B series machines is now as little as $1,000. And we start to have a product positioning problem, right? So when we look at the BX series tractor and say, gosh, this should have this extra thing on it, what do those dollars cost? And then how does that change the way that these things are set up, right? I look at this machine, and there's been some push in order to get position control on this tractor. I continue to go back and look at this and say, in my mind, the dollars that are involved are probably not worth elevating the price of this tractor further, because every feature, every function, everything that you might do to a machine has an associated product cost to it. And I think it's interesting to think these things through in relation to what is offered out there on the market today. So hopefully this helps you understand this tractor a little bit more. If you have a 1/4 inching valve on your tractor, don't be discouraged by that. Understand how that drop valve works. It makes it a lot easier to use. And if you're shopping for these machines, we do offer other models of tractors in this size. They're gonna have position control on it. And we can show you the difference between them. Let's go out in the parking lot, hook some stuff up together, operating some machines. We're glad to help you find the right machine for you. So if you're shopping for a piece of equipment that we can help, or if you have parts and service needs for a machine you've already got, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Messick's.com. The features that are on the tractor. Down between your legs.